Java real-time project using microservices architecture and React.js. So what is this project about? And as this is the demo one, let me talk general topics about the current market and what is the current market expectations from a software engineer, right? And what are the current expectations from a senior engineer or maybe the entry-level engineers, and to whom this project may be helpful, right? So this project can be helpful for an engineer who wants to enter into the IT, and also for an engineers who are already working since maybe 5 or 6 years or maybe more than that also. So this is the project which will work for all kinds of experiences. No matter whether you have 8 years of experience, 7 years of experience, but if you didn't get a chance to work on these kind of technologies, yes, you guys are welcome to this Java real-time project using microservices architecture and React.js. First, let me glance you through the program, how we have defined and what is this program meant to, and let me slowly drive you through the what is this program meant for, meaning what is the kind of domain it is. Let us discuss about the domain. Let us discuss about the project concept, and let us study the existing system, and let us go for the new system design. And also, as part of the study of the existing system, let's understand the existing system pitfalls and the existing system modules, communication, problems, and all let us analyze, and how those problems, pitfalls we can resolve using this microservices architecture is what we will see. First, let us see what is this project is, what kind of domain it is, and all. What are the prerequisites? Let us see first. Okay, so the project is vShopify platform. The project name is vShopify platform. So when I say vShopify platform, going forward, whatever the servers we're going to set up, or whatever the load balancer we're going to set up, whatever the domain we're going to purchase, or whatever the load balancer routes we're going to configure. So all those things will be on this domain name only, vShopify So the application name is vShopify platform. When I say vShopify platform, it may not be a single application. It may be a combination of many applications called as microservices. However, now let's go and then see the project. This project documentation I will provide once you guys will be enrolled for the project. Okay, so project name is vShopify platform, and the project type is, it is a full stack development. So most of us know, right, the meaning of the full stack development. That means complete end-to-end development from the UI, user interfaces, to the backend application development, meaning the UI, meaning the front-end application development, and then the back-end application development. Both we will do here. That's how it is called as the full stack development. So though it is a full stack development, our focus mostly will be on the backend side. So front-end side, we will use the React.js, and that React.js from the scratch, I don't explain, but all the microservices we will integrate with the React.js. So that integration logics, and the React.js setup, React.js components, what we're going to use, all those things you're going to see here practically. But the React.js from scratch is not going to be covered here. And microservices from scratch is going to be covered here. But Spring Boot from scratch may not be going to be covered here. So I'll explain what is the prerequisite and all here. So project name is vShopify platform. Project type is full stack development. Duration is 75 days. So here actual development duration will be the 60 days, and plus 15 days is additionally required for us to do the production deployment. So how the production deployment will be, where we will maintain this production deployment, all those things we will see. And cloud platform, we will use the AWS. No matter whether you have the knowledge or experience on the AWS or not, here again, we're going to cover the few services which are required for us. I'll explain those services as well. Those services I'll again cover here. Okay. And timings from 8 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. for certain days. Maybe the time slot may gonna change a little bit here, 15 minutes front or back, but the timings are constantly from 8 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. at least till this end of the demos. And the domain is retail e-commerce. So I have chosen the domain called retail e-commerce purposefully. So there were various applications, various domains. But why I have chosen this retail e-commerce is, this retail e-commerce business model is very easy to understand for the folks who are at the entry level, and easy to understand, analyze the business scopes for the folks who are at the entry level, and also for the folks who are working currently. So here, the end target is what you should have to get the hands-on experience on the microservices architectural model. So to achieve that, the business model should be as simple as, easy to learn. So that is the reason I have chosen here the retail e-commerce domain. Again, I will explain what is this retail e-commerce domain, what is retail sales, what is e-commerce selling, and how this retail e-commerce will be clubbed together, and what are all the benefits that we will get with this retail e-commerce. So about the domain analysis, domain understanding, again I will cover. Okay. Now, technologies or frameworks we're going to use are Spring Boot 3.x, microservices. So backend development we will do using the Spring Boot 3.x, microservices, Spring Cloud, Docker, AWS, WSO2, and JDK 17.x. So this is what the backend. So when I say backend, what I mean? When I say backend, what I mean is, let me just draw one diagram. Of course, most of you guys might know this one, but let me try to draw something. Yes, I can showcase you the demo of what we're gonna building. That is what the existing system understanding, right? So I can showcase the demo of it, and you can see the, the microservices, what we're gonna build. So these are the microservices, what we're gonna build, and you can see the existing system. This is what the existing system, and this existing system, we're gonna change into these microservices. I will demonstrate this, just be patient. I'll demonstrate the existing system and also the system what we're gonna develop. Fine. So first, just I would like to explain. Of course, most of you guys might know, but let me try to explain the front end and then back end meaning what. So here is the assume the back end, and here is the front end. So always the front end is the application the customers will access. So the customers are real users. So whoever are there, those real users will access this front-end application. So this front-end application, when the users will access this front-end application, so this front-end application will talk to this back-end services. Okay, so when I say backend and when I say front end, there were a different technical stack at the backend side and different technical stack at the front end side. So if you can see this, architecture document, what we're going to implement. So these are all the front end, maybe AngularJS, maybe React.js application, maybe a mobile application, or maybe a point of sale missions. When you go to DMart or when you go to any shopping malls, like, clothes stores, or, when you go to any malls, you can see these POS systems there. So front end meaning any kind of an application where the end customers are directly accessing this. And this front end will call this backend. So backend meaning here we are developing the services which will provide the business data to this front-end application. So front-end application will stand in front of the users, real users, and get the data from the backend services. So we have to do the work here and we have to do the work here. So doing work and then doing work, both the places is called as what? The full stack development. So such a full stack development is this course is made for, but our focus is mainly on this backend one. And at this front end one, we're going to integrate these services with this front end application, that is React.js application. But what is React.js? What is the architecture of the React.js? And what are the components in React.js? What are the services in React.js? Of course, maybe from the scratch, I may not cover, but while setting up the application, you may understand what is this React.js and how we're going to set up and how we can integrate with this microservices securely, right? So that is what the front end and then the backend development meaning here. So backend development side, we're going to use the Spring Boot, and then we're going to use the microservices architecture, of course, microservices, and then we're going to use the Spring Cloud components, and we're going to use the databases, we're going to use the Docker, and we're gonna use the AWS platform to deploy these microservices, maybe as a containers or maybe a direct services, right? So entire infrastructure will be maintained in the AWS. You can see everywhere I mentioned AWS VPC, right? That means AWS is the cloud platform we're going to use to maintain our application infrastructure and also to deploy our applications. So now you may got the idea, right, about the front end and then the back end. So such a front end and then the back end development we will do in this program. That means the Shopify platform, right? Okay, so technologies, we're going to use Spring Boot 3.x, microservices, Spring Cloud, Docker, AWS. Again, in AWS, we're going to use the various services. I'll come to this point, and we're going to use this IAM, security, identity and access management server called WSO2, and we're going to use the JDK, and also we're going to use the Redis cache, and we're going to use the Kafka, we're going to use the RabbitMQ. A lot of technical stack we have. I can showcase that maybe going forward sessions. So front end side, we're going to use the React.js 18.x and the React hooks concept with the Redux store. So where we will use this Redux store and how we can use this React hooks and all. Once we start the integration, maybe, once after this microservices development is completed, then we're going to come at the front end side and then we do the front end development. Of course, front end integration, I mean to say. Okay, what are the prerequisites? So the guys who are joining for this course, they must and should have the knowledge or experience on Java 8, Spring Core, Spring Web MVC, and optionally Spring Boot. If you don't have the experience or the knowledge on Spring Boot, that's okay, because we're going to use the Spring Boot 3.x here. So you can learn from here, but mandatorily, you guys should have the Java 8 and then Spring Core and Spring MVC knowledge. Of course, Spring MVC knowledge is also not required, but mandatorily you guys should have the Java 8 and then the Spring Core experience or the knowledge. This is mandatory skill set. If you don't know Spring Boot, don't worry. You will learn from here. From the very scratch, we're going to do this development. So you will learn from here. But in order to understand that Spring Boot components or Spring Boot internal flow and all, injections and all, you need to know the Spring Core concepts first. Okay, so this is the prerequisite. And we're going to do as much as possible functional programming. So for that, you need to be aware of the Java 8 features and Lambda expressions, functional programming, and streams, right? And other features. You must have to be aware of those features available in this Java 8. And Spring Boot 3.x onwards, we must have to use only JDK 17.x. If time permit, go and see the JDK 17.x architecture and JDK 17.x features as well, and then come back. So this is what the prerequisite to attend this program. Okay, so we're going to use JDK 17.x, but most of the programming we will do both, actually. Functional programming we will do, and then the non-functional programming we will do. Both we will do here. Okay, so just to go through the concepts and all, right? Fine. Okay. And then very famous question, again, I'm getting from the various attendees in the various, various my previous batches. How many years of experience that we can put up once after we have completed this project? I'm honestly saying, if your experience support, if your document support, you can put how many of years of experience you want. If you document, if your document support, you can put 7 years experience as well. That is what the knowledge you will gain in this project. So, but it is up to your document supporting, how your documents will support you, and various other factors also will be there, right? So, but this project will be there for entry level to team lead level, whoever have not get a chance to work on the technical stack of the microservices architecture. So from the entry level engineer to team lead, or maybe higher level also, whoever have not got the chance to work on this architecture, they can also have attend these sessions. In my previous batch, around 7 years, 8 years of experience guys were joined, and then they are continuously attending, right? So what my final point is here, this project will be helpful for all the levels of experience guys, and how your documents will support, you can showcase that much of experience in your resume. Fine. Okay, so then let's go. Prerequisite, maybe all are clear, I believe. Now, how I planned this program. This program has been divided into a total 8 sprints. So 8 sprints meaning each and every sprint is for 1 week. Here 1 week meaning Monday to Saturday initially, maybe for initially 30 days. Then later, Sundays also I will take. Based on the need and based on the other parameters, I will also take the sessions on Sundays. But mostly our classes from Monday to Saturday. So that is what our sprint time is. So there were a total of 8 sprints, meaning 8 weeks, meaning 60 days. Of course, 60 days meaning 8 weeks in the sense, around 8, 6 of 48 to 50 days, right? But let us consider here 8 sprints meaning 2 months of time. Okay, so forget about the holidays, leaves and all. So this, let us consider 8 weeks, 2 months of time. So in this, first week will go for the infrastructure setup. So what is there in infrastructure setup, right? So 1 week do we need to really maintain, or 1 week do we really need to spend for the infrastructure setup? Obviously, because this is what our production infrastructure setup and also our development infrastructure setup. So first we have to create an account in the AWS, and we have to create the virtual private cloud. In this virtual private cloud, we need to take the availability zones, and then we have to take the subnets, public subnets, and then the private subnets. And then we have to configure the EC2 instances in the private subnet. And then we have to configure the NAT gateway, then load balancer, certificate manager, Amazon Route 53, and simple email services. Maybe email services not covered, but at least this certificate manager, Amazon Route 53, and then the AWS VPC and IAM. These are all the concepts that we need to know, and then we need to set it up. So that is the reason 1 week is required for this infra setup. So you can see here for the current running batch, you can see this here. So this is what the two servers we did the setup in the uh, vShopify platform VPC. That means we have created our own VPC, and there we have created the subnets, vShopify private subnets. See this? And as these are in the private subnets, directly we can't access this. We don't have the public IP address. The only way we have to access this is with the load balancer. So we have created the load balancer for this one. And when there is a load balancer, we can configure this load balancer with the Route 53. So here we have configured the Route 53 by purchasing the domain. Then we also have purchased one certificate, and we have used the certificate manager, AWS certificate manager, to issue the certificate. And that certificate we have used with our servers. Now see, these are HTTPS, not HTTP. These are HTTPS. So what did you understand from this one? Infrastructure setup have a lot of things to do. So for that reason, we need 1 week or maybe more than that also to have this infrastructure setup. So as part of the infrastructure setup, I will again detail you what we're going to set up and all, right? All what we're going to set up and all as part of the infrastructure. What are all the services we're going to use from the AWS in this infrastructure setup? I will explain all those things maybe in the coming up sessions, because in a single day, we can't cover all those things, right? So this is the demo one only. Okay. So if you attend the subsequent demos also, you will get the more knowledge and then more concept. Fine. And then the remaining 6 sprints is for the development and then the unit testing. Here in the unit testing, development and then unit testing, every developed component, we should have to do a unit testing, and we should have to perform the integration testing also, and we have to generate the test reports. Because when we gonna deploy these services in the real time, DevOps pipeline, meaning the CI/CD pipeline, then the vulnerability assessment tools were there like SonarQube. So what they will do, they will scan our code, and then they will take the decision of promoting the build to the production or not. For example, we have written the test cases, but test cases are failing more than 50%, then the CI/CD pipeline will reject our build. So to take the decisions whether the build is qualitative or not in future, while doing the deployments of these microservices, we must have to execute these unit test cases. So unit testing is the crucial part. What I mean to say is unit testing is the quality of your build. Unit testing is a decision maker. Unit testing will decide the quality of your build. So qualitative build, qualitative microservices need to be go and then deploy in the production. And here we also will use the Jacaco plugin to generate the test reports, right? Surefire reports, test reports. Based on that, the build quality will get decides. And then the last one sprint is for the bug fixing and also for the maintenance. So here we need to do the bug fixing and then maintenance. So maintenance is what? Maybe we don't have the much maintenance, but mostly we will spend this bug fixing also. We don't have that much of liberty or that much of time here. Meaning what I mean to say is bug fixing and then maintenance phase we can cover for more in the development only. Maybe development is 6 sprints, I said, right? Maybe development may go for the 7 sprints as well. But 1 sprint is for the infra setup. So this is what the plan. And next, what we're gonna discuss is project concept, modules, and use cases discussion. Once after this infrastructure setup discussion is completed, then I'll discuss the project concept, modules, and use cases, then understanding the functional requirements by analyzing the existing system. So if we can see, this is what the existing system. Let me showcase you the existing system. Existing system have a lot of pitfalls. Maybe those pitfalls we need to rectify or we need to address those pitfalls in the microservices architecture. So let me just log in into the existing system. Yeah, existing system is like this. So what are the users? What are the categories? What is brands, products, customers? In order to understand the existing system, I'm pretty sure you first need to understand the business model. We are using the business model or the domain called retail e-commerce. First, you need to understand the retail e-commerce domain model. Then you will understand the existing system. Okay, so we will study about this domain retail e-commerce in detail, and then once you got that understanding, then we go for this existing system study. And existing system is like this, right? And our new system should be like this. Let me showcase you the new system. Probably just give me a moment. Let me go here. Our new system should be like this. Just give me a moment. Let me try to go to the new system. Let me go to these wireframes. For now, I can showcase you the new system wireframes. Wireframes in the sense the mockups. So our new system should be like this. This is what our new system is. See how the variation between the new system and then the existing system. It is very impressive, attractive, right? And more graphical user interface or the matrix are clearly visible. Ups and downs in the business growth are clearly visible. But here it is little tough to understand the ups and downs of the business sales and all, right? So existing system, we need to convert into this new system. What we need to take care while doing this conversion is what we're going to discuss. Okay, fine. So this is what we should have to implement using the React.js, and then the existing system has been implemented using the JSPs. This is the JSPs, Spring Boot, and then the JSP is what used in existing system. What we need to convert it into the microservices architecture with the React.js integration. So that is what we need to achieve. Fine. So that is the final goal. Existing system is called as the monolithic application, which have a drawbacks. And that monolithic application we need to convert into microservices, where we will get the benefits for those drawbacks. And if the architecture is microservices architecture, then we required a UI framework. And such a UI framework is what the React.js is what we're going to use, right? Perfect. Now let's go and then continue the programming plan and all. So understanding the project concepts, modules, use cases, and discussion. But before this, you need to understand the domain retail e-commerce. So the first priority for me is to make sure that you need to understand the domain, because the interviewers will ask you the domain, why you have chosen, meaning what is this retail e-commerce is, and how your application is, getting benefited with this domain. So understanding the domain is very, very important. Understanding the domain, retail e-commerce. This is the first priority for us. So once this is understand for you, then let's go and then discuss the existing project or the project concepts. What is this Shopify project is and all project concepts, let us explain. Okay, so I will give the time to ask you your questions and all. Please write your questions somewhere else. Definitely, I will give you the much time to ask your questions and then get them clarified. Because in the day one and then in the demo session, it is highly impossible for me also to cover all these things, right? So, but just let me give you the prior idea and then let me interact with you guys. Just wait for some time. Okay, so after understanding the retail e-commerce domain, then we will get some idea what is retail sales, what is the retail stores, what is the e-commerce sales, and how the retail and then e-commerce sales got built together, or how this together will help us help the business. So that is what we need to understand. Then we will understand the our project concept, we Shopify platform project concept, modules, and then use cases. Maybe interviewer might ask you a question. There were a lot of gained companies in retail e-commerce like Amazon, Flipkart, maybe Myntra, or maybe lot of gained e-commerce applications were there. The what you are building, right? What you are building, and how this retail e-commerce what you are building is definitely will help your organization, or maybe increase the sales, or maybe increase the users. Though right now everyone is using the Amazon, Flipkart, and all, right? So what specialty that you are doing here? What is your project concept? So that is what we're going to discuss. Project concepts, modules, and then use cases we're going to discuss. Then functional requirements, and then the technical requirements, and then the user interface requirements we're going to discuss. Then database design. In fact, database design is a concept of the um, microservices architectural pattern, because we are going with the microservices architecture. See, in this architecture diagram, every microservice have its own database. So database per service pattern is what we have used here, like MySQL database, MongoDB, DocumentDB, again MySQL, maybe Postgres, maybe Oracle. So polyglot architecture is what we're going to use here. This is called as polyglot architecture. So that is where here we need to discuss in microservices how you will do the database design. So very, very important concept and then important topic as well. So we'll discuss this database design. Maybe this database design we will discuss later in time, not after exactly this requirement understanding. After the requirement understanding, we'll go with the project architecture design with the layers implementation using various architectural design patterns and then use case diagrams. So this is what one of the architecture, high level architecture is what I have drawn, and low level architecture also we have to draw. Like each and every microservice contains what are the layers, and each and every layer is coming up with what are the logics, validation logics, maybe exception handling logics, or the business requirements logic, business logics, transactional logics, where we are writing all those things. So that is what the low level diagram, low level architecture. So low level architecture is what we're going to discuss. First high level architecture, then we're going to discuss the low level architecture. And then we will write the use case diagrams and all. Of course, use case diagrams nowadays no one is doing. It's kind of wasting of the time. But at least the high level diagram and then the low level architectural diagrams are very much is required. Okay, and then after that we're gonna install the softwares required to go and then implement the system, and then we will do the project setup, and from there we will start admin homepage design and etc. So the modules we're gonna start. So total we have the 8 modules, but 8 modules we're not going to cover 8 modules. Hardly 4 modules we're going to cover, and then rest of the 4 modules you guys have to do parallelly. Okay, I will help you how to do and all. So that's all from this project, concept and all. About these modules, module 1, identity and access management, module 2, category, product, settings, customer, shopping cart, order management, payments, shipping and delivery, ratings and rewards management. So all these modules, slowly I'll explain in our going forward demos. Okay. And one last thing I just want to grab your attention is, whenever you're gonna attend any interview, nowadays, the interviewer is pretty much interested to know the following concepts. So the interviewer is definitely, interested, or he want to know from you about these concepts. In that, the first concept is the security. You can't escape. So definitely interviewer will ask the question on the security. Again, in security, you may see various security models like OAuth 2 and JWT, or maybe you might have seen the SAML token, or maybe you can do the single sign-on using OAuth 2, single sign-on using OAuth 2, and using the SAML, like Salesforce integrations, you must have to do with the SAML. And then the social logins like Facebook login, Gmail login, and all, and then the multi-factor authentications like OTP based authentication, biometric based authentication and all. So this is what the interviewer is expecting from the security point of view. And then second, what is observability? When we are discussing about the microservices, or when you go to interview with this microservices architecture, the interviewer will definitely want to know about the observability. That means tracing and then the tracking, tracing and then the tracking and then the logging. So these are all called as observability. Nowadays, the observability word became the buzzword in the microservices architecture. So everyone is definitely would like to have the observability in their project when the microservices are using. So if you don't know how are you know microservices, but you don't know microservices architecture project really, if you are attending the interviews, you may get the job because job requires getting the job is very easy nowadays. But the once you got the job without all these things, maybe once you go in, you definitely have to learn again these things. But however, so observability and then monitoring, observability, monitoring, and then resiliency, resiliency, and then the uh, cloud nativity, resiliency, cloud nativity. So these are all the 5 concepts. Nowadays, you attend any interview, that means the any interview on the Spring Boot microservices, without the questions on these 5 concepts, there will be no interview. There will be no interview without these 5 concepts. So how we will implement these 5 concepts, and what we're going to cover, especially the security. Most of the guys are lacking here because they don't know how to maintain the security and all. So what I mean to say is these 5 pillars of the microservices architecture were well covered in our project implementations. So this is what I want to highlight in this course, whatever I have designed. That's all for today for this demo 1. And you can ask your questions if you have any. You can unmute yourself and then you can also ask.
Narsi, I have one question that ki I don't have idea about. I have only little idea about Spring MVC, and I don't have idea about the Spring Boot microservices and rest of the things. Then it is okay
Okay.
to join.
What I said is must have the knowledge or experience on Java 8 and then Spring Core. If don't know the Spring Boot, that is okay, because we're gonna do the Spring Boot development only, meaning Spring Boot is what we're gonna use for development of our microservices. So microservices from scratch I will explain, but we will use Spring Boot here only. So Spring Boot you will learn practically from this project batch, meaning while we are doing the development, but Spring Core and then Java it is mandatory.
So you are
Got it?
going to cover the Spring Boot from scratch over here.
No, I clearly mentioned Spring Boot 3.x separately. I am not going to take any classes, but Spring Boot 3.x is what we're going to use in our development. So ultimately, while we are doing our development, Spring Boot 3.x completely will be covered here. But I'm not, starting it. What is Spring Boot? What is Spring Boot flow? From the scratch, I'm not going to cover it. But the Spring Boot, all the concepts we will cover while we are doing the project. So that theory and all, you can refer any book or any material. Okay, practically I'm going to cover the Spring Boot 3.x. But microservices, again from scratch, I will discuss. What are microservices? First of all, what are RESTful services? Does all microservices are RESTful services? Or how to convert a RESTful services to a microservice? All these things, what is service-oriented architecture? What is monolithic architecture? What is microservices architecture? And all these concepts from the very scratch, I will discuss about this microservices architecture. And Spring Cloud, Docker, and so on. These are also. But Spring Boot 3.x, theoretically, I'm not going to touch any point here. But practically without the Spring Boot 3.x, we are not going to work on this concept. So Spring Boot 3.x is what we're going to use. Got it?
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
sir,
got
will
it.
you?
And another question is, Narsi, actually, I didn't have my personal laptop. Can I use a company laptop for practice? What do I use?
Maybe that depends. Some companies may not, bother about this. Maybe some companies are strict about this.
Yeah,
That's because
with the
we have to download few things. For example, Redis Lite is one tool we're gonna download. So I probably tomorrow I'll cover what are all the tools. These are all the tools and then services we're gonna use. So maybe we need to download few tools. So if your company allows, then that's okay. If your company laptop allows, if it doesn't allow, then it could be a problem.
Yeah,
Got
hi
it?
Narsi. So
Yep.
this AWS account, right? So do we really need to create by ourselves, or this as part of training those accounts we will receive?
Okay. Okay. In general, in reality, the AWS accounts and all will be given by them, meaning the client will maintain. But this is what we are learning for our purpose. So we must have to create an account, and then we must have to also bear some amount as well. Around, 800 to 1,000 rupees per month, you guys have to spend to learn, this project and all with the AWS cloud platform with the real time, in the real time fashion. Must have, because if you can see here, this WSO2 identity server I have set up here. What I used here, I used the complete load balancers, Route 53, certificate manager, EC2 instances, and that EC2 instances I have not taken in the public subnet. I have taken in the private subnet. So that means a lot of infrastructural concerns components I have taken and then added. So those infrastructural components may get costed as well. That
So
we need to bear.
you will help us, right, to purchase and
Obviously,
provisioning
obviously,
those
how to
things.
set,
Correct.
how to set it up and all, I will help, and how to create the account, how to create an account in AWS, how to access it, and what is each and every service, how to create, let's say, VPC, how to create that VPC. Each and every concept I'll explain, and I'll also give the executable document with the step-by-step screenshots.
Okay. And this microservice when you are developing that, so what is the plan? Are you going to in the screen sharing, writing the code and showing us means how we are?
Correct. From scratch. Yes, from scratch, I will do the development. Live coding. It is purely live coding. It is not like, these are all the microservices I have developed just to go through the code. No, it is not like that. Again, I will do a live coding from scratch for all these things.
And
So
while
this
coding
is
line by line,
already
you will
the,
explain why we are writing this code. Okay.
yeah. So this is already the code that we have developed for the morning batch, currently running it. Maybe in 1 or 2 weeks, it's going to end. So this is what the code from the very scratch we have. I mean, I have
So
written.
and the timing, right? Let's assume we have some client call this time. So is it how I will access that? Is that a recording will be available in that
Yes,
case?
yes. Recordings will be available. Yeah, once after the session is done, then the recording they may be upload, meaning the backend team will get upload the recordings maybe in the next.
So there is no
Once after
plan
the,
around night 10 p.m. For this course. It's 8 p.m. Uh, it's a clashing.
no. 8 p.m. is the time. So
Okay.
8 p.m. to 9:15 is the standard time, at least for these demos. Then
Okay.
after the demos, maybe based on the audience interest, based on the attendees interest, then I will decide the time. If
Sure.
Meaning I'm okay to take it in the morning and then evening as well, but morning, at least for the coming 2 weeks,
No,
it is not
not
possible.
morning, night actually. I was thinking, but yeah, 10 p.m. I was.
Not morning, sir. Actually, I'm interested in evening because in the last, actually, I'm a student of your morning. I am a morning batch, but that time I could not attend your classes. I am only going through your recorded lecture. I could not attend your classes because my office timing is 9 o'clock, or sometime it shifts to 9 to
Night will
8
be good.
also. So I could
Night
not
will be
attend.
good for everyone, I
Sorry,
believe.
Yeah,
hello.
yeah.
What I'm saying, night will be good for everyone, right?
Yeah,
That's what
after
Yes.
after 8 o'clock, after in evening 8 o'clock, it is very good for most of the people.
Yeah, that's true.
Correct.
That's true. Nowadays, everyone is going to offices, right? Maybe,
right.
in person attending. Yeah, let's see that. Maybe these demos let us conduct from 8 to 9:15. If possible, let us shift it to 8:30, 8:30 to 9:30, or maybe 9
Yeah,
to 10.
after
Like that.
8 o'clock,
Yeah, 9 to
8 o'clock
10 will
evening.
be more good if it is doable. 9 to 10 or 10 to 11, whatever.
Yeah. 10 to 11
Yeah,
is
in the
little
evening,
late.
anytime after 8
Okay.
o'clock, sir.
Yeah. Sure. Let us plan.
Sure.
So,
But this demos will
Narsi,
be for 8 to 9 p.m. only. After that, we'll take the decision.
one question from my side. So,
Yes.
are we going to deploy these things on Kubernetes clusters, or only up to we can end up with Docker?
Docker Compose, this microservices architecture with this React.js integration project. In this project, we will do the Dockerization of each and every microservice, and also we will write the
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
we'll write the Docker Compose file for deploying this in the production, not Kubernetes. Kubernetes is not going to cover.
Okay, what about Docker Swarm?
Docker Swarm is also not going to cover because no one is nowadays using Docker Swarm. Rather, we're going to use the, of course, Docker Compose and Docker.
Your voice is breaking, Narsi. Once again.
I'm going to cover only the Docker and then Docker Compose.
Oh, okay.
Hello, all. Am I audible?
Yes, now it's audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, it's audible.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is actually I just need the for the theoretical of Spring Boot and microservices. I'm not much aware about the Spring Core also. So are you planning any theoretical batch in the recent?
Yeah. Coming days, maybe after 2 weeks, I'm going to start the Spring Boot microservices batch.
Okay, it will be from
there,
Spring Core. It will be starting from Spring. Okay. Because I have not.
So
I have the idea of Java 8 theoretical. I have not done the much practical also on Java 8, and Spring Core. I just have a theoretical. It's just gone through it. Not much idea. So you will be starting from the. So will it be fine to join me this real-time project?
In such case, my honest suggestion is maybe not correct. You have to first go through the Spring Core, Spring Boot, microservices, that one, and then come to this project one, because we're gonna do a lot of injections. Sometimes we're gonna do the constructor injection. Sometimes we're gonna do the setter injections. Lot of things, lot of Spring Core concepts we'll use here. So we should have a primarily idea about them. What is component? What is service? At least we should have some idea about it. So may not be suggestible.
Okay.
So your Spring batch is starting, Narsi?
Yes, Spring Boot microservices batch is going to be start after 2 weeks. Probably from the March 20 onwards, it is going to start.
And what will be the timing for that?
Morning only. That will be in the morning only. Maybe 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or 9:15, something like that.
Sir, please make it by 9. Actually, I have a Spring another batch is 7:30 to 9.
Oh, okay.
I request you. Yeah.
And one more thing, Nasir, this what in database, right? What are the technology we are going to use? SQL, NoSQL, so MySQL and MongoDB only, or some?
Okay. For now, we're going to use only two. That is the MySQL and then the MongoDB. So there is a brand service. I'll explain what is the use case and all. Here we're going to use the MongoDB, and then rest all the cases we're going to use the MySQL, and in one service we're going to use the PostgreSQL. So that is the product service, or maybe the order service. We're going to use the PostgreSQL. So I'll explain. I have a reason for that. maybe this is not the right time to discuss why I'm going for this, various databases for the various services. I have a strong reason. When time comes, I'll explain. Okay.
One more question, Narsi, from my side. Actually, I have a 3 years of experience, but I don't have interest in coding, much interest in coding. So, is it okay to stay here, or should I move to DevOps side?
That's basically nowadays what is happening. The people are expecting, meaning more demand for the people who came from the background of development to the DevOps side. Getting my point, right? So DevOps side, the people who are there may not be the developers. But if the DevOps guy may be a developer, that guy will be the demanded one.
Actually, in last 3 years, I am doing development, but anyhow, I can manage. And also, I switch to organization. In 3 years, to organization, I switch. And also, I am able to manage the interview, and I have to getting the offer. In this organization, I got a 6 offer. So, I able to manage the offer and getting the job. But lack of interest and lack of anything reason, you can say that. So, I am not able to do well. You can say that. So what I should do?
I will interrupt here. Even if you're becoming DevOps engineer, you still need to understand how microservices work and
Correct.
how you have to deploy UI, how backend interact with UI.
Correct.
And other than that, it will be very difficult even for DevOps guy these days.
Exactly true.
Yeah.
Exactly true. That's where the cloud native, everyone is now making the app as a cloud native application. So as he suggested, though we are a DevOps engineer, we must have an awareness on the microservices architecture, how to deploy the microservices, how to deploy this React application, how to deploy the cache service, how to deploy the IAM service. So we need to have this definitely background of all these things. And nowadays, going forward, maybe not now, but down the line, 1.5 years, DevSecOps will get more boom. DevSecOps will get more boom. By the time, if you have the security knowledge as well, or the security applications deployment knowledge as well, then you will be the hot cake in the market. Got it?
Hello. Just to tell you, I was your student in that BSofify batch, but like when you explained 15 days that VPC, how load balancer interact and everything, because of that only I got another job. And after that, not because I never got the chance to see in my company, right? Because only DevOps engineers see these things. But I explained that I work with DevOps people and I managed to get job. So yeah.
Actually, Narsi sir, I was a student. I also was a student of your BSofify batch, but lack of interest. You can say anything. Just 50% I was in the sleeping mode. It was in the morning batch, 7 AM batch.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, sir. Actually, I want to ask one question. As you told, ki after completing this course, you can become a team lead, or you can apply for a team lead, or this type of things. So I want to ask, can we become a solution architect after completing this course?
No, Lalit. Actually, my point here is, once after you attend the session, you become team lead. That is not my word. My word is what, maybe you are a team lead, but you may not get the chance to work on all these technologies. Then you can join for this course and then increase or maybe strengthen your skills. That is what my point.
Same thing I want to ask for solution architect. If just like me, I am a solution architect in my company. Then in this case, this course will help me as a solution architect.
100%. Because being a solution architect, if you didn't get a chance so far in the end-to-end deployment of this microservices architectures and then the infra setup and all, then you can definitely join this, because the infra setup. Once after the infra setup is done, then the microservices development and later the deployment of the microservices, these 3 phases are very important for everyone. If you are a solution architect and you are now working as a solution architect, but you didn't get a chance to see all these things, maybe this is the definitely right batch for you. I suggest.
Yes, sir. Actually, some time back, before 4 or 5 months back, I was team lead and Java team lead, and just for five months back, I come into the solution architect. So I'm facing some issues, I'm facing some problems. So I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's
Can I
true.
answer?
Yeah.
Narsi, can I answer this question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, solution architect is, I mean, it depends upon the company to company and the environment to environment where you are working. A solution architect for Java J2E deployment and DevOps perspective, I think this will be the right course up to this part.
Yeah, definitely. I'm asking about this for Java and DevOps.
Yeah, DevOps. But if you go to, I mean, it all depends upon what kind of solution architect role you are playing. Suppose if someone will expect a solution architect from integration point of view with ERPs and infrastructure as well as development.
No. I'm not asking regarding this.
Yeah. So it all depends upon the role.
Development and DevOps with AWS. I'm just asking
that
regarding
will be
this.
I think this will be the right course, I hope.
Yeah.
Sir, in future, what will be in the terms of pay scale? Who will be better, DevOps and cloud guys or the developer?
This is typical question.
Yeah, I will answer, Narsi.
Both will same in the future, I think.
Yeah, if you don't mind, can I answer this question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm from Canada and I'm living in North America from last couple of years. So a JavaScript guy will get more package than any of these people.
JavaScript?
Yeah, only JavaScript, nothing more than that.
Okay, you mean to say Munstack, full stack developer in JavaScript?
Maybe anything. If you know JavaScript,
so that depends. That depends actually. That depends also in which region you are working and all. But you know, compared to developer billing, a DevOps engineer billing is more. Compared to a developer billing, DevOps engineer billing is more. Why? Because DevOps engineer is the guy who has to take care of the application as a baby. When any situation, any circumstances, the DevOps engineer should have to be respond. So DevOps engineer's billing will be high compared to the developer's billing. Again, CTC wise, that's what the company's ratio. So maybe they will give the good CTC and maybe may not. But for the senior engineers or maybe senior profiles, definitely DevOps engineer salary are more, at least nowadays, compared to the developers and then developers especially.
And sir, whose work pressure is higher, like developer? Because I'm not sure about DevOps and cloud guy. So how is the work pressure in DevOps and cloud side?
Pressure is how we will manage. Maybe work pressure side I may not comment, because it is how we are managing and how the application state is. Based on those situations it will be. But in few cases, DevOps engineers should have to take more pressure than the developers, because the developer's job is done when the testers will sign the build to the next environments. So let's say development environment to QA and QA pass it, then the developers can get relaxed, because to move it into the production, it may take a week or 2 weeks or a month. By the time the developers may continue, they can happily go and then do the other development, other use cases development. But production, something happened in the production, or maybe the production deployments failed, or maybe the production deployments need to be roll out or roll back. So the moment when the application is moving to the production, that 3-4 weeks or maybe the month, the DevOps engineers will have a lot of pressure.
So it is suggestible that as a developer you should learn DevOps side by side.
That is what nowadays everyone is expecting. Microservices architecture, then knowledge and DevOps is expecting. If the DevOps is there, then expecting the DevSecOps also, security knowledge and also. So they are expecting a lot actually, and pay also giving like that. In US, I have seen minimum they are paying 1.79 to 2.1, 2.3. for the engineers who have the microservices architecture experience with the DevOps and then the security operations and all. And for the architect profile, I'm saying. So max to max 2.4, 2.3 also they're offering. That is what the market.
Yeah,
Okay.
that all depends on Narsi.
Depends.
I mean, not everybody will get. Okay,
That's
but
true.
the thing is that yeah, there are all service-oriented companies. They are playing in a different trick.
Obviously.
They are giving that packages once they join the package, and they are saying after 6 months they are saying that the performance is not up to the mark, and now
correct.
yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to say, that if you join in a product-based company, it will be entirely a different different scenario, and if you join in a service-oriented company like TCS, Wipro, or Cogni, or any other companies from India and on-site, then it will be a different scenario.
That's true. So these are all definitely, under various circumstances, various situations, these will be not standard or maybe not stable. Fine.
And sir, how to land job, how to get job in UAE or UK or Canada from India? Is there any like path like?
Honestly, I'm really unaware of that. I'm not sure how we can. Probably, if any one of our folks were there, maybe you guys can have a discussion. But
I think don't think about UAE jobs. Okay, the life, there is a money, but you won't be a personal life. You won't get any personal life. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's a different concept. We may take it up in a
Narsi, you are going to start a DevOps course also?
Yes, that is also, because morning maybe 2 slots are going to empty by the March 20. So one slot for the DevOps and 1 slot for the Spring Boot microservices.
So is it okay? I join both the classes along with this class?
Yeah, that's okay. That's up to you. Meaning how you guys will manage the things is up to you, because you know better. How you use your office and all the things. So
no,
that's okay.
I can manage the office because 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I can do the DevOps and along with the microservice batch.
Yeah, that's true. You can.
Hello, sir. I have one quick question.
Are
you changing the batch timing, or is it the same batch timing?
Okay. So one thing is what these demos 8 to 9:15. Let us take 8 to 9:15. At least 4-5 demos. After the demos, I came to know, right, who are interested.
Yeah, I prefer this timing only, so that's what I'm asking.
That's what. If the majority of the people are interested to have the timings in between 8:30 to 9:30 or 8 to 9:30, based on this majority, I'll take the decision. But demos will be, at least for the next 4 days, will be on the 8 to 9.
Okay, you will be providing the videos, right? Anyway.
Exactly. Videos will be provided. Every video will be provided. Every day video will be provided.
And sir, how long we will have the access of this video? Means like if I am covering this Spring Core, which will be there, and so I will not be understanding this video, means this course completely or correctly, I mean to say. So how long we will have the access to this video once the course get completed?
Actually, let us say the course is 75 days.
Okay.
But assume we have completed in 80 days. In the next 80 days, the access will be there.
Okay.
Next 80 days. So let's say this course completed in 100 days. So from that date, next 100 days, the access will be there. Okay.
Okay. And sir, in that case, like after 75, in next 80 days, if I face any issue, anything, then I can mail you or something like that to get some help.
Exactly.
Okay.
If any issues anywhere, you guys can mail me.
Okay.
Maybe a recordings issue or anything, because we're gonna open one Telegram channel.
Okay.
You guys also ping me in that open Telegram channel. I'll take it up. Meaning I'll forward it to the backend team, usually who is doing all these things, and the issue will be rectified. Maybe it might take a little time, 3 to 4 hours of delay you may expect, but it will get resolved.
No, I mean to say technical issue. Like if while following this course, if I face any technical issue, then I can just get your help in that case.
Correct. Yes, that's true.
Hello.
Yes.
Like here, I'm not having much exposure on front-end development. So do I need to learn from scratch React.js here, or can I continue work on this project and simultaneously I can learn the React.js?
That is up to you. That is up to you guys. But my suggestion is what, if there will be a provision and if you have the time, please join React.js batch separately and continue parallelly. Because when we gonna start the integration, by that time, you may also complete your React.js batch and you will be aware of all the components like React component. There is a functional component and then there is a programming component. Or there are various ways to coding it, the React.js application and all. So by the time you will easily understand the things and all. If you already have done the course, by the time we start this integration. So that is what my suggestion. But if not, that is also fine. You guys can continue with this one and then later, whenever you will get time, you can go and then join. That's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all from my side, folks, for today. Thanks a lot for your time with me. Demo 1. So let's continue. Probably demo 2 tomorrow and demo 3, demo 4, demo 5. Then I'll explain more about the application architecture and infra setup. So tomorrow, let us discuss about the infra setup. And I will showcase you AWS services, what we are doing, what we are going to set up, what services you have to learn for this infra setup and all. I'll explain tomorrow. Okay. Thanks a lot. I'm
just
stopping
one
my
question.
screen. Yeah, please.
So are you going to push the code to Git? I mean, for reference? I mean,
Yes. So if you can see here, I'm going to maintain this code in the GitLab. So GitLab access I will give. So see this, these are all in the GitLabs. So I will give the GitLab access. You guys can go and then take the code from the GitLab.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, folks. See you tomorrow at the same time. Thanks all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello all. Very good evening. Thanks for joining the demo 2. Let me share my screen just in a moment of time. Yeah. So hope you guys are now able to see my screen, I believe. Let us continue with the demo 2. In demo 1, just I explained the model of the program, how we will execute, like the project name, Shopify platform, and then it is a full stack development. Duration is 75 days and platform is AWS Cloud Platform. And the project is of type retail e-commerce, meaning the domain is of type retail e-commerce. And then technologies, we're going to use Spring Boot 3.x, microservices, Spring Cloud, Docker, AWS, WSO2 IAM, JDK 17.x, and Redis Cache, lot more. These are, for namesake, few. We going to use a lot of tools as well. However, I already have listed out the services and then the tools that we're going to use. I'll come to this slide or this document. And front end, we're going to use the React.js 18.x and React hooks and Redux store to store the tokens at the UI side. And prerequisite must have the experience or the knowledge on the Java 8, Spring Core, and optionally Spring Boot. So I explained about this program. This program is for 75 days, where the beginning 60 days we'll do the development. Of course, the first week we'll do the infrastructure setup, and from the second week onwards we'll do the development, and that development till continues up to the 6 to 7 weeks. And then the last 2 weeks we're going to do the production deployment. So today, before understanding the further concept, like understanding the domain retail e-commerce, first let me explain the infrastructure setup. In infrastructure setup, I'm just setting you the expectation, okay? Because why you have to join this course, right? You may have a lot of options in the market, and you may have a lot of options also, like Udemy is there or other platforms are there. Then why you need to spend your time and then join here? So to justify that, I'm trying to, set up some bullet points, and then, I'm just trying to justify myself why you should have to take this course. So as part of that, first let me explain you the infrastructure setup. And And in that infrastructure setup, maybe you don't know what are those components and all what we're going to discuss now, but just listen about those components and have a just checklist, what we're gonna do, and are we really gonna do this in the real time or not. So just have a checklist. And of course, I'm also explain or showcase you the existing setup, what we already have done for the earlier batch. So then let us go and then start understanding the domain called retail e-commerce. From there, let us derive through the existing application understanding, and then deriving the project concept, modules, use cases, functional requirements, technical requirements, and the user interfaces, architecture, all those things let us discuss. So first, let us understand the infrastructure setup. So let me showcase you the infrastructure document. I believe you already have seen yesterday. And this is what the documentation, project documentation, and a lot more also. I'll give this documentation to you once you have been enrolled for this course. Okay, so this is what our end product production architecture. So maybe by looking into it, you may not understand. Let me draw this production architecture or infra setup. Not only in production, we also do this infra setup in our development environment as well. So better let me try to draw that architecture one more time, and then you will easily understand. Okay, so we're going to use the AWS cloud platform first of all. So let us take this AWS cloud platform just in a moment of time. Let me take AWS cloud platform related. Yeah. So just let me take, these are our availability zones, not this one. Just let me go with this. Not this one. Not this one. I'm trying to, drawing the architecture things. So let me take one of this one. So this is what the AWS cloud, just assume this is the AWS cloud. Let me capture the AWS cloud image. Don't feel it as, wasting your time, but you will get understanding the production architecture and also the architecture, the development architecture, what we're going to use here as well. So both architectures you're going to understand. So this is what the AWS cloud platform. So when I say AWS cloud platform, you guys should have to know how to set up this AWS cloud platform, meaning how we can create an account, and then maybe most of you guys may know or may not know about this AWS. Don't worry, I'll explain while doing the setup, you guys can learn. So we're going to take this AWS cloud platform and then create one user, one IAM user we're going to create, maybe the root user or platform user. So one of the IAM account we're going to create. So let's say this IAM account is nothing but vShopify admin, vShopify cloud admin. So this is the person who gonna manage this entire cloud. So vShopify platform admin is the user that we're gonna create. Then listen carefully. So here with this architecture, so far you just understood. Point number one, we're gonna cover IAM. So by this one, you just understood, we're gonna use the IAM. In this IAM, we're going to create an administrator user with the administrator privileges. So we're going to create a user with the administrator privileges. Privileges meaning the permissions, roles, and all. Next is what? Here in AWS, there is a concept called virtual private cloud. So let me just try to log into this AWS, sign into the console. Let me showcase you. Let me log in with my AWS details. Yeah, as soon as I have been logged in. Yes. Yes. So let's go to the VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. By default, we will have one VPC. In AWS, by default, we'll have one VPC. But this VPC we don't use, because this is the anyone who may be using the AWS account, there may be a chance of knowing our IP addresses and all, because they can predict this CIDR. They can predict the CIDR addresses, or there will be not maybe it's not more secure. So that is the reason we're going to create our own VPC, vShopify platform VPC. So that means we're going to use our own VPC. So this is what our VPC. Okay, so this is what our VPC is. So we're going to create the VPC. So once after we create VPC, see this. This is the VPC we're going to create. So if you can see this VPC having the route table, right? And if we can go to this route table have the routes, and you can see these routes to the routes, and then it also have the subnet associations. So let me go to again our VPC and route tables, vShopify private route table, public route table. So there will be two route tables, public route table, private route table. Each and every route table having the subnets you can see here. So subnet associations. One is the public subnet, and then the second one is the private subnet. So this is the private subnets. So these subnets are associated to our VPC. These subnets are associated to our VPC. See this vShopify platform VPC. So what did you understand now? This VPC is having one IP address. So that IP address is 10.0.0.0/16. You can have any IP ranges. So we are just defining one IP range for this VPC, so that within this IP range only the IP addresses can generate for the instances that we're going to take, like the machines, servers, whatever the servers we're going to take in this VPC, those servers will have this 10.0 as their IP address. Now, if you can see, there is one more 0.0 is available. So this 0 is what we will use this 0 for the subnets. So we will create now the subnets. How many subnets we'll create? We'll create the two subnets. One is the private subnet. Second one is the public subnet. So this is so before creating these subnets, first we will take the availability zone. We will take the availability zone. So when we are creating the VPC, so here we have to give the VPC name and then the CIDRs and all. And when we are creating these subnets, we must have to choose the availability zones. For example, creating the subnet. So what is the VPC, and then what is the subnet name and all we have to create. But availability zone is what we must have to use. So I'm now in the Mumbai region. Maybe you guys also can take the Hyderabad region as well. So we are now in the AP South 1 region. In AP South 1 region, we will have the two availability zones, AP South 1A and then AP South 1B. So these are all the availability zones. AP South 1, AZ3, AZ1. So availability zones is what we need to take. So this is the diagram is showing the same. So VPC, and then in that VPC, let us take the availability zones. So first, let me go and then take the availability zone. Availability zone or aged, in simple we can call them as aged. So this is one availability zone. Minimum 2 availability zones is what we have to take. Minimum 2 availability zones is what we have to take. So this is one availability zone and this is the another availability zone. Let's say AP South 1A and this is AP South 1B. Aged AP South 1A and this is aged AP South 1B. Now in these availability zones, we have to take the subnets. So we have to take the public subnet and then the private subnet. So this is the public subnet. One public subnet is in availability zone A and then another public subnet in the availability zone B. Similarly, we have to take the private subnet. I'll explain what is this public subnet, what is the private subnet. Just bear with me till I complete this design. So this is what the private subnet. So in availability zone 1, we should have to take the private subnet and here we should have to take the private subnet. So now why we are doing all these things? We are doing all these things to have the more security for our machines or the servers that we're going to take in our project. So this public subnet 1, maybe we are dividing the huge network into subnetworks. So those are all the subnets. So this is 10.0 and 24 and this is 20. Let's say 20.0. So when 10.0.20, it is public subnet 2. When 10.0.10, it is public subnet 1. What are these 10.0, 10.0.1? What are all these things? Later on time, we're going to create the instances, our EC2 instances. For example, see WSO2 IAM server and see this Redis cache server. So if you can go here, WSO2 cache server, Redis cache server, their IP addresses are see 10.0.30. So that means this is what the IP range of the private subnet 1. So private subnet 1 IP range is 10.0.30 and then the another private subnet IP range is 10.0.40. So we are now, we have now divided the outer huge network into subnetworks. So this huge network, we divided into subnetworks. Why? Because security. Why? Because to have the more security for our machines or servers we're going to set up in our cloud platform. Okay. Now, the machines, whatever we're going to create in this private subnet, will get the IP ranges like 10.0.30. something. See this 10.0.30.33. That means this WSO2 IAM server we have taken in the private subnet 1. You can even take this one, private subnet 01. Similarly, maybe the cache server we have taken, this might also be in the private subnet 1. You can see private subnet 1. So that means, what did you understand from this one? Going forward, we will take the machines in these private subnets. Our servers will be in the private subnets. So what is the benefit of this private subnets? When the machine will be set up in the private subnet, that machine directly can't accessible from the network. Meaning, if you open this tab and then try to access it, we never access because these machines don't get the public IP address. So the machine servers we're gonna take or set up in the private subnets don't get this public IP addresses. As it don't have the public IP address, we can't access it. But how, sir? Without accessing, if tomorrow we want to set up something, how do we do that? Yes. So rather accessing with this private and then this public IP addresses, we will access it through the load balancers. So what we're going to do now, we will set up the load balancer. So that load balancer will come here. Let me take this load balancer. This is the load balancer. We're gonna take the there are 3 load balancers: classic load balancer, network load balancer, application load balancer, and one more load balancer. We're gonna take the network load balancer. Network load balancer is the layer 4 load balancer, which is very fast. When time comes, I'll explain. Don't worry about it at this moment. So classic load balancer, network load balancer, application load balancer, and one more load balancer is also there, gateway load balancer. The total 4 load balancers we have. But I'm going to take the network load balancer because it is a layer 4 load balancer. What is this layer 4 load balancer, sir? All those things I'll explain later in time. So the load balancer is here. Load balancer is not in the VPC. So where is the load balancer for us here? Go to the CC2 instances. In earlier project, we have taken the load balancer. See, these are all the load balancers. vShopify IAM server, vShopify Redis server, we have taken the load balancers. In the availability zones, in the same VPC, we have taken our vShopify platform VPC, and in the it is available in both the availability zones. That means this load balancer will be commonly available for these both 2 availability zones. Okay, it is now in our VPC. Okay, so then we're gonna set up our servers, our EC2 machines or the servers we're gonna set up in our private subnets. So this is one server, and maybe we're gonna take this is another server. Let's say this is the IAM server, and this is the, let's say, Redis cache, Redis server. Maybe we're gonna take another server. Probably this is a Docker server. This is a Docker server. Maybe this is a Docker server, right? And maybe we're gonna take other servers as well, like IAM, Redis, Docker, or maybe we're gonna take one other Jump box. There is one machine called Jump box. We will use this Jump box. So these are all what the machines we're going to take in these private subnets. So when these machines will take in the private subnet, when these machines will be taken the private subnet, then these machines can't access from the outside. Outside in the sense, this is the AWS cloud, right? So the users are over the network. So the users are over the network. Maybe the users are here, or maybe users, you, me, we are here. So we are here. So what we're going to do, we are trying to access the application via this load balancer over the network. So just give me a moment. Maybe this concept is little tough to understand at this moment, but you see, you have to justify yourself, right? Why I should have to join this course? Maybe I can get a better course anywhere. You go and then check or attend various demos. You will know the importance of what I'm telling here. However, so users will access the application. The application will run here. Maybe here IAM will run. So let me take the IAM application. Like this is what the IAM server. So this IAM server maybe this IAM server may be running here, right? So here IAM server may be running. Here IAM server may be running, and maybe here the Redis cache is running, right? So in order to access those applications, so maybe here the Redis cache is running. Just let me take in this diagram. Yeah. So in order to access these applications over the internet, meaning over the cloud, I mean to say. So here is the cloud. So this is what the cloud, right? So over the internet, when the users are trying to accessing our application, right? Then the users know the either load balancer URL, or the users will know the, the domain. So like, let us say these guys will access our application. Let me take it like this. Better, let me take it like this. So these guys will access our application like this. https:// im.vshopify.app.in, or maybe vshopify.in. Like this, they will access the application. So when they will access the application, first it will go to the Route 53. So we're going to use a service called Route 53. So first it will come to the service called the Route 53. So before this Route 53 event, there is another service called Certificate Manager. Certificate Manager. So this Certificate Manager will validate the certificate, because we are using HTTPS, right? So it will validate this certificate in the AWS. First, it will validate by the Certificate Manager. Then the domain will be resolved by this Route 53. Then for this domain, in the Route 53, we will configure the load balancer. So it will be reach out to load balancer. So we can say, so probably I can take it like this. Just let me take it here. Now let me take this here. Okay. So here what I'll do is I'll take the Route 53. Remember, what are the services are covering for us? So one is IAM, and second one is VPC, and third one is the load balancers, and fourth one is the Route 53, and fifth one is the Certificate Manager. So these are the services so far we have discussed. Right. Now, when the call comes to this load balancer, then the load balancer will have the target group of the EC2 instances. So this load balancer is in now our VPC. So it will easily group these instances, and these instances, each incoming request now will go to the gateway. So if you can see here, in the VPC structure, let me again go to VPC. There will be a internet gateway. So go to VPC, and this is the VPC, and our VPC will have the internet gateway. So let's go to, so these are the subnets, and this VPC have the internet gateway. So main network ACL, this network ACL have subnet. So let's go to internet gateway. So this is the vShopify platform internet gateway. So this internet gateway attached to our VPC platform. I'll explain the usage of this internet gateway. Maybe first let me draw the entire architecture, then I'll explain. So whatever the questions you are asking, difference between load balancer and API gateway, these are all in a single class we can't answer, right? But 100% there is a difference. So just wait till I complete this one. All your questions will get resolved. So first the call will come to this load balancer. Now load balancer will have the listen till end, then your questions will be resolved. Because while I am discussing the topic, you are asking the questions which I am going to discuss next. So again, if I jump there, it will be confusion for you. Let's just wait. So this is the load balancer we're going to create. And this load balancer have the, group, network group, target servers group. So this is the target group. So the target group, carefully observe, the target group is, of course, the load balancer is in the VPC. So the target group is identifying the targets of our server, vShopify IAM server. Now these machines will get identified. So that means from here, from the load balancer, the machines are reachable. So from here, the machines from the load balancer, the machines in the sense we should have to say the network is from this load balancer, first is availability zone, private subnet, this is now reachable. But directly it can't go here. So 1 minute. So, but rather than directly going here, of course, it will identify, meaning the load balancer will identify the group of target servers. But there is a internet gateway. That internet gateway will do what? Internet gateway will allow the network communication to these machines, meaning in order to access the application inside this machine, we require the internet gateway. So load balancer is to take the incoming request and then the balance, incoming request and then to balance the load, and that load balancer request then go to our internet gateway. So that means from the internet gateway, the call will, from the load balancer, the call comes to this internet gateway. Now internet gateway will know about these private and then public subnets. So then from here, the application from this, from here, the application in this subnets 1 or maybe subnet 2, the application is now reachable, meaning accessible, I mean to say. The application is now accessible through the internet gateway. So internet gateway is allowing the traffic or load or network access, meaning allowing the call from the external network to the internal VPC network. Meaning internet gateway, without internet gateway, we can't access the application. So internet gateway is allowing the calls to the applications that are running in our VPC inside the subnets. This is fine. Now, as the machines are accessible, meaning the application is accessible over the internet gateway, load balancer will resolve the incoming request. First, this is the domain. Domain will be resolved. First, certificate will be validated by the certificate manager. Then domain will be resolved by the Route 53. So let me showcase you the Route 53 as well. So go here and let me take the Route 53. Just be with me. Seems to be my internet is little slow. So this is the Route 53. So incoming request, when we access the incoming request, now the call comes to first this Route 53 after the certificate manager verifies the HTTPS protocol or that certificate. So in the hosted zone, you can see this our certificate and all, meaning here you can see this is what the load balancer. This is what the load balancer URL. So when we are accessing im.vshopifyapp.in or cache.vshopifyapp.in, it will be resolved to this load balancer. Exactly what I have drawn here. So we are accessing im.vshopify.in. It comes to Route 53. Route 53 now will have, this is the domain. For that, what is the load balancer? This is the load balancer. Now it will go to that load balancer. So let's say this is what that load balancer. vShopify IAM server network load balancer. Right? So this is what we can see here. vShopify IAM server network load balancer. So then the call comes to the network load balancer. Now network load balancer, what the target groups. So the target groups will result to these machines, meaning the target group this network load balancer have the target group of these machines, and these machines will be resolved by this load balancer because it knows that the machines are targeted or grouped together. But the application here, this is the application we are trying to access. In order to access that application from the external network, we require the internet gateway to allow the calls. We require the internet gateway to allow the calls, to allow the external calls into our network, this VPC, private subnets and all. So that is the reason we have taken this NAT gateway. And sometimes we need to access these machines, right? Meaning IAM server, jump box, these machines need the updates. Updates meaning, for example, WSO to IAM server is there. It have some updates. So that updates we need to download onto this machine. So this machine requires to connect to the internet. So in order to connect this machine to the internet, we will use what? The NAT gateway. We will use what? The NAT gateway. Now, probably you understood the difference between this load balancer and then the internet gateway. Now we're going to discuss about this NAT gateway.